What's going on, everyone? Happy Saturday. Hopefully everyone is doing well, staying safe, healthy, and having a great day so far. If you had taken a COVID test, RSV, influenza, maybe a test for some other virus, I hope you have tested negative. If you did test positive, I hope you have a full and speedy recovery with no long-term issues and no long COVID issues. It is time now for the Saturday edition of the Virus Update for Saturday, February 8th, 2025. If you're new to my channel, welcome to my channel. This is the channel where you get daily virus updates on all those viruses that can make us sick. Let's face it, when you watch the TV in the evening, you get the news report. They talk about the local news, the weather, sports report, and a very brief health segment. I give you a full 15, 20, sometimes even 25-minute update on what's going on with these viruses, not just in the United States, but all around the world. Why? Because you need to be informed with what's going on so you can stay safe and healthy. Want to do that? Just hit the subscribe button down below. Give this video a thumbs up. Let's try for 200 like button hits today. The more people that hit that, the more YouTube's going to push this content out, meaning more people get to see my updates, which is a very good thing. It helps keep more people informed. Share this video with anyone you know. Hit that notification bell, and of course, leave any comments down below. All right, we have several news stories to talk about today. We do have quite a bit of data. We do have some new data from CJ that he provided us with today, so I'll read that later on. Wanted to show some wastewater stuff today. I don't know if we'll get to that. We may get that in tomorrow. Tomorrow may become a classic wastewater Sunday. We'll just have to see how things go along here. First off, we do have some bird flu news. Second type of bird flu detected in the U.S. dairy cows. And I must say this is not good news. Remember we had that first U.S. H5N1 human death a month ago? Yeah, there's a possible connection with that. Dairy cattle in Nevada have been infected with a new type of bird flu that's different from the version that has spread in U.S. herds since last year, officials said on Wednesday. And this version, it says a version of H5N1 bird flu known as B3.13 was confirmed in March after being introduced to cattle in 2023 in 950 herds and 16 states. Well, here's the new version, known as D1.1, confirmed in Nevada cattle on Friday, according to the USDA. And here's the problem with that. The D1.1 version of the virus was the type linked to the first U.S. death tied to bird flu and a severe illness in Canada. So, yes, this is the same type that was linked to the death in the U.S. and a severe illness in a person in Canada. And if you recall, that person in the U.S. who died was in Louisiana. Not good to see that. Also, things are starting to escalate with bird flu in New York. Live poultry markets are now ordered to shut down in New York City due to an avian flu outbreak. Yes, the governor of New York has decided to take this extra step, which is a good thing. Moving on now to this. Stray cats test positive for bird flu in San Mateo County. This is in California. I believe this is near the Bay Area. So lab results did confirm that a cat did have H5N1, and there's risk of it spreading to other cats and potential risk to spreading to people. But as always, like all departments say, the risk to people currently is low. We keep hearing that. We would like to think that it would stay that way, but who knows what's going to happen. A hospital in London has shut down 3 wards due to a norovirus outbreak. 3 wards at a southwest London hospital have been closed due to an outbreak of the winter vomiting bug known as norovirus. St. George's Hospital in Tooting, hope I said that correctly, Tooting, said it would also close some bays or wards to admissions and transfers to reduce the risk of the infection spreading. Yes, it is a very highly contagious disease. All right, moving on now to this. States absorb big increases in Medicaid for sicker than expected enrollees after COVID-19 pandemic. Yeah, I mean, the government and all these other agencies like to have thought that the pandemic was over. The pandemic was not over. COVID is still a thing. Now, they never said COVID itself was over, but they thought it was not a pandemic anymore. and they decide not to do much of anything about long COVID. Well, guess what? Long COVID is real, and it is leading to a lot of sick people, and because of that, it's taken some by surprise. Why are so many people so sick? Well, there's a lot of things that COVID can do. There's hundreds of different things that COVID can do, and that could very well be a big reason to why this is happening. All right, in sports news, Ricky Fowler has dropped out from the Waste Management Phoenix Open. We've been seeing the past couple of weeks on the PGA Tour illness going around. Last week there was flu. This week there's illness. Some are saying it could be for another reason. What I'm hearing is illness at this point, so we'll just say that it's going with that. But yeah, the Waste Management Phoenix Open, he had to drop out before Friday's second round due to illness. And in other sports news, I do not have this queued up. We are now learning that the Kansas City Chiefs, tomorrow's the Super Bowl. The Kansas City Chiefs is dealing with some illness as well. Before we learned that the Eagles, Jalen Carter, and a few other players, did not hear who the other players are also dealing with illness. Hey, tomorrow's the big Super Bowl. I got to give you a reminder. If you're positive for flu, COVID, RSV, you got norovirus, maybe you just have a cold, and you were invited to go to a Super Bowl party, guess what? You can't go. You're sick. Stay at home. Do not spread your illness to other people, which then continues the domino effect of spreading to more and more people. Please, if you're sick tomorrow, stay home. Avoid those Super Bowl parties. I know the Super Bowl is going to be a huge super spreader all across the country, but more so in three places: Philadelphia, New Orleans, and Kansas City. That's the three big places that have the biggest interest in this Super Bowl. And whichever city wins will likely have increased spread of these viruses. All right. Some eastern Tennessee schools are closed the next coming days. Yeah, some have already closed for next week. And this was I found this yesterday. Already said, no, we're closing for a couple days next week due to illness, including Knox County schools. I believe this is in the Knoxville, Tennessee area. We're not going to read all the schools because we have a lot more things to go through. But yeah, school illnesses, they continue. I do have a list on my site. I am slowly catching up. I'm getting closer to be caught up, but there's still I would say there's probably about another 15 schools for me to add in there, if not more. All right, 2 more measles cases have been confirmed in Metro Atlanta, public health officials say. I don't know, is this a race? Atlanta, Georgia, is catching up to Texas now. Texas is in the lead, but Georgia is catching up. I'm not liking where we're heading with measles this year. We're just having a continuation of last year where it seems like every week I'm talking about some new measles cases, and hopefully this trend does not increase anymore. About my website, it's datareport.info. It's a website that is there for you. It's an archive of information. That's the reason why I do it. I archive the stories, like for example, after today's update or at some point this evening, I will make a thread on here, a post with all the links to the stories that I did in today's update. Here's yesterday. You can see there were a lot of news stories. You can go and read the full stories. As you know here, we don't read the full stories on video. Why? Because, well, my videos would be an hour long. Who wants to sit through me reading each and every story to you? So I provide the link. I just give you a brief summary of what the stories talk about. All right, moving on. Datareport.info is my website. Taking a look at Canada. And COVID-19 activity level is moderate. Flu A is high. Flu B is moderate. And RSV is listed high at this time. Taking a look at air qualities. You are going to see some bad air qualities in some places. There is a storm system going through the Great Lakes and the east. Oftentimes, when we do see a storm system or increased moisture, it does trigger the sensors to show a higher reading. And you can see east of Mississippi, there are some yellows and even some moderate levels starting to show up. So that is something to be concerned of. Taking a look at what is going on in Pinellas County, Florida, and we do see sick persons showing up 1, 2, 3, 4 times. We see a bunch of other things showing up as well. So there are calls to be had. Not as busy as the previous day, but we do note this. There is one call there that 33-minute elapsed time at the hospital. In other words, they're sitting there waiting for a bed. Alrighty, taking a look at what's going on with Philadelphia yesterday, and no, that was not yesterday. This is yesterday. Friday, 802 EMS incidents, and I can tell you Saturday might be over 800 again. I was just briefly going through the archive of some of today's calls because we actually had an ambulance up the street a little bit ago, and I wanted to find out what that was about. Couldn't quite make it out. I thought they said flu or COVID, breathing difficulty, but it got cut off. The point was, while I was trying to find that, it was just going off like crazy. Ambulances were covering different areas. Yeah, not a good thing. So today sounds like it was really bad. Tomorrow night, if our Philadelphia Eagles win, probably won't be any better. There'll probably be a lot of calls. Just the Super Bowl in general, I'm sure there will be calls tomorrow. All right, taking a look at this, a live look at what's going on in Montgomery County. Just 9 calls right now. That's good. That's not bad. Taking a look at what's going on in Chester County, Pennsylvania, if we can get it to come up. There we go. Looks like there's a few calls right now. I'm seeing stroke, respiratory difficulty, and a few other things at this time. Taking a look at the hospital situation in Pennsylvania, and we do see there are still a lot of problems in the Lehigh Valley and a lot of other areas dealing with problems in the hospitals at this time. And in New Jersey, I'm seeing just one hospital. Let's see. Yeah. No. 2 hospitals are dealing with problems in New Jersey at this time. There we go. They're grouped together. And Jefferson Stratford Hospital in Camden County, New Jersey. Looks like there may be a divert at this time for no beds. Yikes. That is not good. All right. Drum roll, please. I have something new to show you. An update has been made. A redo has been made to the Pennsylvania wastewater dashboard. I was going to wait to show this tomorrow in the Sunday wastewater update, but I got to show this to you now. I'm really pleased with this. They did an update here. Here's the levels. Here's the chart. And they included more viruses. Influenza A and RSV are now included. And you can see where things are very high. No more of that trend. It just shows what's high. And I have been going through this. And unfortunately, it does look like we are starting to see some things rise once again. Chester County, Pennsylvania. Yeah, COVID's starting to rise there once again. Some portions of Montgomery County, Pennsylvania are seeing rises once again. Same can be said for up in the Poconos in Pennsylvania. And that's concerning because next weekend is the big ski weekend of the winter. One of the big ski weekends. President's Day weekend. So that's not good. And, yeah, we are seeing rises in some places, which is not a good sign. And we do know the Northeast as a whole is starting to rise. Take a look at influenza A, and we can see influenza A levels. Yeah, they're rising as well. And kind of hard for you to see because my camera is in the way here, but you can see here the levels here for flu are rising in the state of Pennsylvania. Center County, Pennsylvania is really rising at this point. I don't know. Let's see. What would happen if I put myself in the middle? Yeah, take a look at that. Now you can see it. Look at Center County, Pennsylvania. It is literally going straight up for influenza A. That's not good whatsoever. We'll take a look at more of this during Wastewater Sunday tomorrow. And by the way, look at this. RSV levels. I don't know if you just click on it. Does that show you the statewide level? I really don't know if that's what it's showing there, but you get the point. We'll take a look at this more again tomorrow. Taking a look at what's going on with Walgreens this week. 10% positivity rate for COVID. And one thing we did not do with Walgreens this week, and we should do it right now real quickly. Here's the flu positivity rate from Walgreens. 8.6%. Total test, 11,193. That is for influenza, both A and B this week at Walgreens. Now moving on to some data from the CDC, and I did want to share this today. We're just going to go through this quickly because we do have several more things to get through. But these are the emergency department visits for those who were diagnosed with COVID. And I have it set for the view where you can see all the states that are included. Not all states are included. There's a couple that do not get included, and there's some that are included but don't provide any data. Across the United States, we can see emergency department visits for people diagnosed with COVID. They have flattened. They were dropping. They're not really dropping that much right now. Some claim, oh, it's starting to resume dropping again. At the moment, it's not really dropping that much compared to what it was doing before. I mean, it was dropping pretty good there for a while, and then it just stalled. Alabama is, again, that's not really dropping very much. Alaska is dropping. Arizona is dropping. Arkansas is going up slightly. California is dropping a little bit. We'll have to see if that holds. There's starting to be some rises in California. Colorado is dropping. Connecticut, I believe, is dropping. Delaware actually has started to rise again, as has Washington, D.C. Florida, not really dropping. Georgia actually went up again. Now it's leveled off. Guam is rising a little bit. Hawaii is rising a little bit. Idaho is rising a little bit. Illinois is dropping. Indiana was dropping. Now there's a little notch here. We'll have to see what happens with that. Iowa is dropping. Kansas was dropping. A little slight increase this week. Kentucky is definitely rising once again. Louisiana was rising a little bit again. Now it's stalled. Super Bowl, we'll see what happens there. Sometimes people say, oh, these big events are going to cause an event, and then it ends up not, so we'll have to see what happens. Maine is dropping, which is interesting because Northeast wastewater is going up. That's good to see Maine dropping. Maryland is rising slightly. Massachusetts is dropping. That's also interesting considering what's going on with wastewater in the Northeast. Michigan is dropping. Mississippi is rising slightly. Montana did go up slightly and now is starting to drop. And I should correct myself. Looks like Mississippi has leveled off. Maybe they're going to start dropping soon. Nebraska leveled off. Nevada is dropping. New Hampshire is dropping. New Jersey is rising ever so slightly. New Mexico is dropping. New York at this time is dropping a little bit. North Carolina is dropping. North Dakota at this point was dropping. It's hard to say what that's actually doing there. Maybe rising a little bit. Ohio has leveled off from its dropping. It's dropping ever so slightly, but not much. Oregon is rising. Pennsylvania has leveled off, and you'll see in some data in just a little bit, Pennsylvania is still horrible for the hospital situation. Rhode Island is dropping. South Carolina rising ever so slightly. South Dakota is dropping. Tennessee is dropping a little bit. Texas is actually starting to rise once again. Utah is holding steady. Vermont is dropping. Virginia is rising once again. Washington was starting to rise a little bit. Now it may be flattening out. And West Virginia is rising slightly. Wisconsin is dropping. And no data from Wyoming. We did get this yesterday. Influenza-like illness activity map is absolutely horrible. It really is horrible. Levels are very high in much of the country. I mean, there's just a few places, Montana and Alaska, where it's minimal at this point. Oh, and it's also minimal in the Virgin Islands and low in West Virginia. Don't ask me why those areas are just randomly low while everywhere else is doing oh so bad. I really do not know. I mean, you can see the Northeast is getting hit hard. Michigan, Ohio, Nebraska, New Mexico, Texas, South Carolina, Tennessee, New York City, New Jersey, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, on and on I could go. It is really bad in places right now. So if you haven't gotten a flu shot, you want to be really careful because this is really spreading quite fast. All right, moving on. I do want to show you some data from CJS. It's quite a bit, so I think we're going to end on this today. And here it is. It's 2 days worth of update. He gave us some numbers from Thursday and then some Friday numbers. So you're going to see some states twice, and that's because some of it is a Thursday update. So here we go. Florida, daily numbers, 543 new cases and 17 new deaths. This is on Thursday now. That was a daily number. Weekday number from New Jersey, 564 new cases and 2 new deaths. New York, 1,788 cases were reported on Thursday. Puerto Rico had 220 new cases and 3 new deaths. Colorado, weekly number, 234 new positive tests. A test case positivity rate of 3.7% and 16 deaths reported. Connecticut, weekly number, 891 new cases and 22 deaths reported by CDC data tracker. Indiana, weekly number, 2,292 new cases and 38 new deaths reported by the CDC data tracker. Kentucky, weekly number, 1,555 new tests and 12 deaths reported by the CDC data tracker. Massachusetts, weekly, 1,725 new cases and 25 new deaths. Minnesota, weekly, 1,757 new cases and 26 new deaths. North Carolina, weekly, 627 state-reported hospital visits and 24 deaths reported by the CDC data tracker. New Mexico, weekly, 408 new cases and 12 deaths reported by the CDC data tracker. Ohio, as mentioned, 5,559 new cases and 24 new state-reported deaths to the CDC data tracker. Oklahoma, weekly, a test case positivity rate of 5.6% and 25 deaths reported by the CDC data tracker. Utah, their weekly, they're living with COVID tab. They have 357 people added to that with 3 new deaths. And Vermont, weekly number, 189 new cases and 5 new deaths. All right, let's pause for a second. I need you to take a hydration break. Sometimes we forget to do this. We forgot to do it yesterday. Please, if you're sick right now or even if you're not sick, please remember to keep hydrated. I'm going to do it right now. Alrighty, moving on. Taking a look at Florida yesterday. And as you can see, there's a lot more. Data. Florida yesterday, 596 new cases, 18 new deaths. Here's their weekly total. 3,926 cases and 83 deaths were reported. New Jersey, 559 new cases, 5 deaths. Weekly total of 4,383 and 15 deaths. New York, 1,582 new cases. And for the week, they had 9,233 cases and 85 new deaths this week. That's a lot. And you're kind of getting the idea here that this week in the United States, there were quite a bit of deaths. In fact, the number is the highest it's been in quite some time. Puerto Rico, 272 new cases were reported yesterday. For the week, 1,222 cases and 12 deaths over the past 7 days. Alabama, 212 hospitalizations reported to the CDC and 7 deaths reported by the CDC. California, 844 CDC reported hospitalizations and 51 new deaths. I want you to remember that 844 hospitalizations in California. Why? Because there's a state smaller than California that actually did worse when it comes to hospitalization. I'm coming to it in a moment. If you've been watching my videos, I think you know what state that's going to be. Or if you're just looking at this, you can see it's listed down below. Georgia, 279 CDC reported hospitalizations and 25 deaths. Iowa, a weekly number, 127 CDC reported hospitalizations and 10 deaths. Idaho, 616 emergency department visits, 3 deaths. Illinois, 570 hospitalizations and 41 reported deaths. Kansas, 8 new deaths by the CDC data tracker. Louisiana, 999 emergency department visits and 1 death. Missouri, 180 CDC reported hospitalizations and 29 deaths. Mississippi, 115 CDC reported hospitalizations and 11 deaths. Montana, 232 new cases and 1 new death reported by the CDC data tracker. Nebraska, 633 new positive tests and 4 deaths. New Hampshire, 7 new state reported deaths. And get this, Pennsylvania, weekly number, 1,498 CDC reported hospitalizations, 12.1% of the national total, which is 12,380. Higher number than what's reported in California. And 66 deaths were reported by the CDC data tracker. South Carolina, 192 CDC reported hospitalizations and 21 deaths reported to the CDC data tracker. Texas, 3,614 new cases and 28 deaths. Wisconsin, 1,303 new positive tests, a test case positivity rate of 6.3%, and their flu positivity rate is 37.7%, and 28 deaths reported from COVID. And West Virginia, the weekly number is 1,106 new positive tests. And let's move this down so you can see here. And positivity rate of 7.99% and 9 deaths. Here's the weekly death COVID total in the United States from CDC data. 1,085 new deaths. So the current total is 1,219,202 total U.S. deaths. That's up from 1,218,117. So yes, we did crack over 1,000 COVID deaths this week, and with some signs that we may, I'm not going to say we may be heading to another wave of COVID. We know the Northeast has risen pretty sharply for 2 weeks in a row when it comes to wastewater. This is the baseline where we're starting from in terms of hospitalizations, in terms of death, in terms of everything, that's not good. That's a pretty high point to start from. Now, we did not have a severe winter COVID wave, but if we start up of levels this elevated and go higher, well, then things could turn a little bit more significant. And as is, 1,085 deaths. We still had a week this winter with 1,085 deaths, so that's still pretty bad. That would be like the worst potential flu season. That would be a bad flu season, so that's not good. Alrighty, folks, that does it for the Saturday virus update. We will have another virus update tomorrow. I'm going to try and get it out earlier because tomorrow is the Super Bowl, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to be focused on that tomorrow. So I'll make sure I get this out earlier so you can see tomorrow's update before you watch the Super Bowl. And again, if you are attending any Super Bowl parties tomorrow, please do so safely and do not attend a Super Bowl party if you are sick. If you enjoyed this update, give it a thumbs up. subscribe down below, hit the notification bell, share this video with anyone you know, and leave all comments down below. I'll see you again next time. Until I see you again next time, stay safe, everyone. Have a fantastic Saturday evening, and thanks for watching.